You're never going to get 5-star treatment from someone who views you as a 2-star experience. Understanding how you're viewed will allow you to spend your time wisely, to go where you're wanted, and to get the treatment you desire. No begging or pleading required. Hi ladies, welcome back to the Feminine Universe. I am so happy to have you here. If you really think about it, we all know how we want to be treated. The problem is we don't always do the best job spotting and sticking with the people who want to give us that treatment. Not people we have to beg or strong arm, but people who genuinely want to treat us right. Because the bottom line is, people will only give you certain kinds of treatment when they view you a certain kind of way. In other words, they will only give you exceptional treatment when they view you as worthy of that treatment. Many women spend way too much time trying to convince a man of their worth, or thinking that the more they invest in a man, the more he will invest in them, instead of just being the best version of themselves and learning to spot the men who appreciate that. And that's been the point of this Dream Girl and category content, to give my ladies a few pointers on how to assess how a man views you so you can avoid having your time wasted, learn to go where you're wanted, and get the treatment you want without the begging, convincing, and tap dancing. If you haven't realized already, understanding these categories is for you, not for men. Now that we're clear on that, let's get started. As a refresher, there are typically 2 to 3 categories we usually think men put women into. If you're looking at the 2-category model, it's simply wifey material or not wifey material. The 3-category model is more like the dream girl, which is wifey material that you go above and beyond for. The good enough girl, which can also be wifey material, but is not treated nearly as well as the dream girl. And the good time girl, which, as the name implies, is not wifey material, just someone you want to have a good time with. But I mentioned that since I've been fortunate enough to really observe and get this unfiltered, intimate view of many different relationships, I've actually noticed 5 categories that men put women into. And you being aware of this will help you quickly analyze how a man sees you, determine if you will get the treatment you desire, and realize whether or not your time is being wasted. As we move towards getting into the 5 categories in detail, I want to point out that though most of the treatment from men will be based on what category they put you in, there are reasons that have nothing to do with you or these categories that can also determine how a man will treat you. So let's get some of the big ones out of the way so that you can spot these quickly and get out of there ASAP. First is, he's not capable or willing to treat anyone well. Some men, for whatever reason, are broken beyond repair. They are bitter, broken, and brutal. Whatever the cause, it's not your responsibility. It's above you. The only person who can help them is the Lord Almighty Himself. Some are also incapable because they have undiagnosed mental, emotional, or personality disorders, and until they decide to seek help or get treatment, they will engage in behaviors that are destructive to themselves and others. A second reason can be that he just doesn't like women, whether that's due to misogyny and he doesn't view women as equal human beings, or he hasn't come to terms with his sexuality and takes his confusion and anger out on women. The third reason is if he thinks he's the prize. There are men who don't believe it's their job to pursue, protect, or provide for women. Rather, they actually believe women should pursue, protect, and provide for them. This can be a result of being excessively coddled, especially by their mother or other female relatives, or if he's been abnormally good looking or abnormally wealthy for most of his life and is used to women pursuing him shamelessly and just all around debasing themselves because of those things. He may think that that's the norm. Lastly is if he's from your past. There are several reasons why it's usually not a good idea to revisit men from your past, but this is especially true for my ladies going through a mental, physical, and or emotional glow up. Some women seem to think the men from their past will treat them better after they glow up. They think to themselves, now he'll see my value and give me better treatment, but that's usually not what happens. In reality, many times they will try to diminish your level. They'll want to pull the same mess they used to get away with before. The man from your past will find it difficult to accept that what was acceptable to you once upon a time is no longer acceptable. What do you mean I have to plan dates? What do you mean I can't show up to your place at 1 a.m.? You were fine with it before. Most of the time, he simply will not be able to wrap his head around the fact that yesterday's price is not today's price. I really want to do a video on how to raise your price in life because it makes me so sad when amazing women undervalue themselves. It might be a little more advanced, but drop raise your price in the comments if you feel ready and you want to see that, and I will be more than happy to make it for you. Now on to the 5 categories. Let's start with the desperate girl. This is a really sad situation, and there are way too many women stuck in this category. I think we all know at least one. The desperate girl is the one who gives everything for nothing. She really gives her all and gets nothing in return. This woman is viewed by men as the station wagon your great Uncle Ronald left you when he passed. You don't like it, you don't really want to be seen in it, but it's free and you don't have anything else, so you accept it. These are the girls who are with men who are not attracted to them, not interested in them, and who usually don't even really like them. These are the girls calling a man 1,000,000 times a day, the girls who come running whenever he calls, who always get the last-minute plans. These are the women who are cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, buying gifts for, and even laying down with a man who does absolutely nothing or the very bare minimum for them. Usually it's nothing. Her only attractive quality or main attractive quality to men is her level of desperation. In other words, they only like how much you like them. They like the way being put on a pedestal makes them feel. They like the things you do for them. They like having access to female attention or to a female body without having to put any work in. It seems the thought process of this girl is someone will fall for me based on what I do rather than based on who I am. And there are so many reasons why women end up in this dynamic, and we'll get into the psychology of all that when we do the in-depth breakdown of the desperate woman, as well as all the other categories. Now, how do you know you're the desperate girl? It's very easy to know when you're in this category because you probably initiate most, if not all, contact, and even when you do, the replies are delayed or they don't bother to reply. The man will only reach out if he's extremely bored and has nothing else to do, or if he wants something, like if he needs a ride, a meal, physical gratification, and so on. Never really just for the sake of reaching out. Another clear tell is the minute you make any requests or requirements, it's a problem. Like asking for a date night so you can get a break from cooking all the time, that's a problem. Men view the desperate woman like a free sample of frozen yogurt at Costco. So when she asks for anything, there's an immediate recoil. It's like, don't ask me to pay for a free sample. I literally only accepted because it was free. I don't even like frozen yogurt like that. So if you're receiving that kind of treatment, that should very clearly tell you how you're viewed and help you realize it's probably time to move on. Next, we have the good time girl, viewed as the race car they'll never buy because it's impractical, doesn't fit into their real lives, and just isn't viewed as a serious option. But they will test drive or rent it out for fun on the weekends. The good time girl appears in a few different forms, sometimes as the one-night stand, also the friend with benefits, maybe the rebound girl. Sometimes she's also the other woman, aka the mistress or side chick. Now, there are actually 2 types of good time girls. There's the good time girl who wants more but either doesn't realize her behavior is keeping her from being viewed that way, or thinks that her low barrier behavior will actually make her more liked and somehow get her the official status she ultimately wants. And then there's the good time girl who is looking for a good time too. People seem to forget that not every woman is looking to be wifed up. Some women date around and sleep around for fun too. Everyone is entitled to their own definition of just having fun, but remember, it's all fun and games until someone catches feelings or gets hurt. Whether that's the good time girl who actually wants more, but her behavior gets her typecasted as a forever fling or side option, or the girl who wants fun now, but maybe will want to be seen as a dream girl down the line, but by then, everyone in her circle views her as a permanent good time girl. The damage is done. Another misconception about the good time girl is that there are never any feelings for her, that the man cannot actually like this woman and it's always purely physical. While that's usually the case, it's not always the case. He may like her, but it can truly be a matter of her just not fitting into or being respectable in other parts of his life. Either family or professional circles won't accept her, and in turn, they would also judge him and look at him differently. In any case, these women tend to be the ones men reach out to after hours. They get that WYD, what are you doing text at 1 a.m. or only hang out on weekends and maybe out of town places. Their relationships are usually very focused on physical interactions, and men usually avoid intertwining their lives with hers in ways like meeting family or attending functions together because they don't see it going anywhere long term, or they're embarrassed of her presentation or reputation if others are aware of it. So anything that feels like they're kind of hiding you and you're only getting their spare or extra time might be a sign that they're putting you in the good time girl category. The next category is the good enough girl. This is the relationship or the car that many, if not most people have. As mentioned, I call it the used Honda. We've all had a Honda or Toyota in our life. Those babies ride till the wheels fall off. They may not be the most glamorous, but they do everything they need to do. It might be secondhand or on the more affordable side, but it's reliable, gets them from point A to B, and is within their budget. There's nothing wrong with it, but they aren't exactly showing it off either. This would reflect the dynamic of the women who tell me either the guys they tend to meet or their boyfriend or their husband isn't rude, mean, or disrespectful to them in any way, but they don't feel very valued, pursued, or cherished either. They definitely don't feel pampered. There are no surprises, no extras, no passion, no fire. This one doesn't look like the downright mistreatment that the desperate girl gets. It looks more like a situation where the man does what's necessary, but not much more. Like you will get things on birthdays or on anniversaries, but not so much just because gestures. There's a lot of same old, not much thoughtfulness or creativity, and anything extra that you want, you have to explicitly ask for. He's probably not looking up bed and breakfast for you two to go to and reconnect as a surprise. But if you ask for it, usually several times, he might end up doing it. Eventually, there are so many different reasons women end up in this dynamic. Some of the main ones are, for whatever reason, the man doesn't have access to the kinds of women he actually wants. Maybe he's limited by his finances, his looks, his education, etc. He can't get his preference, so he settles for his second, third, or fourth choice. The store is out of my favorite ice cream, so I got the next best flavor. It's not exactly what I wanted, but it will do. Another reason besides not having access to their preference is going for the woman who is low maintenance. This one is like being at university and choosing between the harder, more prestigious class where you'll probably learn more, but it's going to take a lot of work, versus the class you're not really interested in, but you know you can get an easy A. In this case, he could possibly get with the woman he wants, but that would require doing work that he doesn't want to do. So he goes for a woman he wants less, but will require less work. If the desperate girl is no maintenance, the good enough girl is low maintenance. Which is why I arch my brow when the same women who for some reason brag about being low maintenance turn around and ask why their man doesn't do anything special for them or take initiative. And lastly, it can be because of a lack of requirements. Because nothing or very little was required for him to gain entry, he has a tendency to appreciate it less. Thankfully, this isn't only the most common dynamic, but one of the easier ones to improve, which we'll do in the in-depth solutions analysis. Next, there's the dream girl. Now this one right here might motivate them to get the new degree or a whole new career just so they can afford it. This is the Benz, the Porsche, the Rolls Royce. It's attainable, but they're going to have to work their butt off for it. And once they get it, you can tell it's their pride and joy. It's pretty obvious when someone views you as their dream girl. Firstly, they want to be around you. No matter how busy, no matter what else is going on, they will find a way or make a way. They are putting in effort. It doesn't have to be your birthday for you to get anything from small sweet gestures or trinkets to more lavish things and experiences. And when he does surprise you and you ask, "What's this for?" you will hear things like, "I just wanted to see you smile," or "It makes me happy to make you happy." Because when a man cares for you and truly values you, bringing you happiness and making sure your needs are met will become part of his purpose. I promise we'll discuss more on that in the in-depth video as well. If you're the dream girl, he also gives you grace and a little leeway. I'm not talking about putting up with mistreatment or disrespect. No man or woman should deal with that. I'm just talking about little oopsies you might make and you can simply apologize and easily move on. Heck, he might not even point them out sometimes. If a man is jumping down your throat for any little mistake, it's one of the easiest giveaways that he doesn't like you like that. Now you're probably thinking, well, nothing could go wrong in this dynamic where you're the dream girl. And for the most part, it's a great life. It's a good place to be. But I do want to touch on one thing, and that is to make sure he's not falling for an overly curated version of you. A lot of times people think only men do the representative thing, where the person they present in the early stages is very different from who they really are. But that's not true. Some women do things solely to get men, or they do what a particular man they have their eye on likes or wants. So they seem like the dream girl to him, but once they get the guy, they get comfortable and the behaviors that he fell for stop, and she finds herself no longer viewed and therefore no longer treated as the dream girl. Not being overly curated doesn't mean not to take care of yourself in every way or not to be the best version of yourself and put your best foot forward. It also doesn't mean you can't consider and incorporate more of what your partner likes, but rather it's about not doing things you hate or don't enjoy, or things that don't fit into your personality, or things that are just completely unsustainable for you for the sake of getting a guy. There's nothing wrong with wearing that little number he likes to see you in a little more often, but don't pretend to love sports if you hate them and then get mad when there's always a game on, or if many of your dates are live sports games. Overly curating or flat out pretending will take a dynamic from dream to nightmare really quick. And lastly, we have the out of your league girl. We call her the Bugatti. This is the car they may scrape and scrimp to buy, but in the long term, they simply can't keep up with the maintenance, the repairs, or even the monthly payments, and end up having to give it away or have it taken away. The whole thing ends in shame and disappointment. This dynamic usually occurs when the woman is significantly out of a man's league. The dream girl requires his best to be attainable. With the out of your league girl, it's more like even his best will never be good enough. This can occur when she's significantly better looking, has way more income or education, is from a significantly better off or upper crust family, or has some kind of notable fame. A lot of people, a lot of women, think being in the out of your league situation is ideal. But there are actually several negative aspects in this dynamic. Many women think, what could be better than a guy constantly muttering, "I'm not worthy, I'm so lucky to have you." You think it's going to be easy living, you'll have nothing to worry about, and he's going to worship the ground you walk on. And sometimes that happens, and it leads to happily ever after. Other times, it only happens for a while, then things change. Because two of the worst feelings you can evoke in someone are envy and shame. Think about the shame that would come with having your luxury car repossessed in the middle of the day while everyone is watching. Now think about how it will feel if this woman tells the man she'll just buy her own wedding ring because he doesn't make enough to afford the one she wants. Or she calls her dad to bail them out financially if they fall behind on bills or have a healthcare emergency because her man can't cover their financial needs. Think about the feeling of constantly being told how lucky he is that she settled for him, or feeling out of place, or even worse, not even being invited to her work events because she didn't think it would be his speed. If someone constantly feels shame when they're around you, whether that's your intention or not, it's only a matter of time before they revolt in some way. And that can mean they start finding ways not to be around you, like avoiding the home, maybe intentionally working late as often as possible, or they begin to take out their anger on you for making them feel that shame. It's like, since you make me feel bad, I'm going to make you feel bad too. And this can also be a completely subconscious thought process. And it can look like a lot of picking at you and picking at any mistakes you do make. They want you to see that you're not so perfect or so above them after all. It can look like starting arguments with you that make no sense for seemingly no reason. It's because there's a deeper issue, but they're dealing with it on a surface level. Women in this dynamic may begin to hide or diminish their accomplishments, tone down their appearance, and may become a shell of their former selves in general. Or they're just constantly arguing with this man. This dynamic is so fascinating to observe and kind of tragic in a way when it goes bad. To go from being adored to kind of resented and reviled. No one really did anything wrong in the pairing stage. No one had bad intentions coming into it. It's just a matter of not being a good fit. And that's why it's so important to be aware of these categories and to go deeper than just the wifey or not wifey material categories. With a different mindset, many desperate or just for fun girls could make great wives to different types of men. Many good enough situations could be avoided or upgraded. Most men would quickly place an out of his league woman in the wifey category, but it would still end badly in many of those cases because the differences are too vast. Those interested in healthy relationships and ultimately healthy marriages should always remember it's not just about getting married, it's about staying married. It's one thing to say I would marry you, it's another thing to be able to stay married to you. And that is an overview of the 5 categories that men put women into. I hope this helped to clear up any confusion you may have of how men may view you and view women in general, so you can know what to look for and what to expect based on how you're viewed, so that you can decide if it's something you can work with, work on, or if it's simply time to move on. Now, if you constantly find yourself in a certain category that you don't want to be in and you're looking to change that, we will be going in depth on the mindset of the women in each of these categories, and more importantly, we'll discuss solutions to change it. So don't worry. In the meantime, drop any thoughts or questions you have in the comments below. Until next time, ladies, stay feminine, stay focused, and have fun.